Okay, so what's going to be on the test? Okay, so the first thing is you're going to create a Windows Form app. That's what we did at the beginning of the semester. Okay. Um, and again, I'll just show you how we do that. So if we wanted to create a new solution, um, let me close this solution. You would create a new project, and you want to make sure, again, it's going to be a C sharp, it's going to be a Windows, and it's going to be a desktop. Okay. And so you want to go down here and, of course, select that. And you're going to be doing this at the school. So this is exactly how you're going to be doing this. You're not going to use the framework. You're going to do this one. Okay. The framework is the old way to do stuff. The old way to do stuff. And you're going to say next. And I'm not going to have too much of a problem where you do this. For me, you could call this whatever you want. You could call it Test1. I don't care. But so you know where things are. I like to set up my go under my student CIS 130 student, and then test, and select that folder. Now I know where stuff is, because you won't believe how many students don't know where they've saved stuff. Okay. And so you come to me, you're in a panic, you're saying, I know I did this. I can't find it now to zip it. I go, okay. So so you might call this test one. Okay. And yeah, and you could put it under the test. I don't care. In fact, that's probably even a better place to do it. But anyways, and you're going to do 8.0 because we don't have 10.0 at the school, and you're going to hit create. Oh. Okay. And you're going to be good. And then you're going to save stuff, and you're going to have to know how to rename your form. Okay. All right. Good. Jeremiah remembers something. Good. And you're going to have to be able to change titles. And then what you're going to do is you're going to need to add the controls that I asked you to add. Okay? So there's going to be multiple controls I'm going to ask you to add. Okay? And I want you to go ahead and add those controls. And by the way, you will be judged by how neat your form looks. Okay? If it looks ugly, you'll get points taken off. So I want you to line stuff up. For example, if I bring in a button right here, I might, instead of, and I bring in another button right here and another button right here. Don't leave them like that. Remember how we can line these up, right? You select the first button you want it to be like, and then you go to format, and you could say make same size. Now they're all big. And then you can go format. You can align their, if we want to align their let's align their bottoms. We could do that. And we can say, uh, uh, you know, horizontal spacing, decrease, okay, things like that, okay. I want it to look neat. All these buttons should be at the bottom. All your text boxes should be, and your labels. Now, remember, when you use labels for output, okay, there's two types of labels. There's text box labels that are they define what your text box is. So let's say I want to add last name, okay? And again, how you name these is important. So I always do alphabetical, order over here. And let's say this is going to be last name. It would be TXT last name. Okay. And then if I wanted to add a label to describe that, I would just go over here and I would change it to last. Oh, wait. I don't care if you change the label name, you have to change the text. Okay, so last name right here.
So is the test based on chapters 1 through 4?
For the most part, yeah. I mean, there's going to be arrays. There's going to be everything that we've talked about thus far is fair game, except for WPFs. Okay. So we won't be using WPFs yet. All right. So then just line everything up. You want to make sure you select the right tab order. Okay. So tab orders. If you have an output label, okay, let's say I create an output label. You want to make sure that you name that label LBL, whatever. And you also want it to be you want the border to be fixed single. Okay? Don't forget to do that. All right. So those are the form type things I'm going to be looking at. And I'm going to ask you to add a bunch of different types of controls, different objects. Okay?
Like what you mentioned, the exam that it has to be single, or do we have to remember that?
You have to remember that. Make it like that. And by the way, all these things are in previous assignments that we've done. Okay? Previous lecture notes that we've looked at.
Can you give us a hint? Can you give us a hint on which it'll be heavily based on?
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, your assignments that you've done, especially 1 and 2, are going to be a lot like that. And you can utilize those on your test. All right. So I need you to know those things. All right. Now, the other things that you need to know is programmatically, you need to know how to make an array. And that's what we just talked about. And you're going to make that array probably is going to be at the field level. Okay? The field level. Now, what do I mean by the field level? That means that it's going to be declared right here. Okay? Remember that? How we were putting how we put the high school name at the field level. It's at the class level, and that becomes available to every method inside your class. In this case, its class is form 1. Okay? So there's certain things, variables that you're going to set up at the class level. Okay? So you need to know how to do arrays. What else do you need to know how to do? You need to know how to add those arrays together. You need to know how to append to a text box. Okay?
You like trimming it?
Like what?
Like trimming it?
Like we did before. Like we did with when we were working with the high school, we would append to that text box. Okay?
From assignment 2, could you post the answer keys so that we have the correct one if we didn't get everything correct?
I think I did, didn't I? Let's see. Let's make sure. Let's see. So this video will show you how to do that.
I saw the video though, and it didn't.
Okay. All right. All right. What I'll do is you see how I'll put a copy of the answer out there.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. So you're going to need to know how to append to a text box. You'll need to know how to convert certain things to decimal and things of that nature. So remember how we switch different to one data type to another? What else? Oh, you need to know how to do the if and the if else if and the else, okay? So know how to do that. Know how to do a switch statement. Everybody remembers a switch statement, right? Okay. Know, of course, how to do a for loop. Of course, know how to close your project. And know how to validate a field. Remember how we did is it present? Okay. So make sure you know how to validate a text box and be able to send it to that and validate it. Let's see what else. So yeah. So let's see, and how to remember how we did if is valid? So be able to do that. Yeah, if is valid. All right. So what's going to happen on the test is I'm going to do some stuff for you. Okay. So I'll be providing you with code to add into your. So what you're going to do is you're going to develop, you're going to create, and then After you create that project, you're going to go to the code behind, and you are going to copy my code that I've started for you, because it would just take you too long to do the test, and then you're going to go from there. Okay. All right. And I want to show you this. So, because a lot of students have had problems with this. Let's say, you accidentally double click on this label. Okay. And all of a sudden you've created a method that you don't want. Okay. So the best way to get rid of this method is not to delete it first. Okay. Because if I delete it first, then I can't get back into my design. Okay. There's other ways to fix that. So if that happens during the test, we'll certainly, I'll help you with that. Okay. But the best way to do this is if you accidentally click somewhere. By the way, you got to close, when you do fix it, you got to close it down and come back in. Okay. So say I accidentally click somewhere where I don't want to click. I double click there. I create that label. Before you delete this, go back in your designer, go under your event, which is a lightning bolt, which I've said multiple times, and delete this out right here. And then you can go back into your form and you can delete it. Oh, well, it deletes it for you. Okay. That's the best way to do that. Go to your events in your properties window and change it there. All right. All right. So that's what's going to be on the test. You're going to write one program. You're going to insert my code. And then you're going to modify my code as directed. Of course, you're going to be adding all your own labels and buttons and calendar controls and list boxes yourself. Okay. Question? Yes, Aurora.
Yeah, so just to understand, I plan on just bringing like a USB and putting my homework and stuff on there to reference from, so that I know what to like concentrate on, putting on there. When you mentioned that you were going to be giving us code and then we were going to be working on it from there, is it going to be similar to how you did in the first couple assignments where it's not like a matter of you wanting us to memorize the syntax, but just understand the logic? So you would be putting like an if statement, and we'd have to put in like the name of our labels. We'd have to put in like, our comparison operators or know certain things like that and understand the logic versus focusing on like copying and pasting specific syntax, if that makes sense.
Somewhat like that. The big thing is, and this is the hard thing, you're going to have to name your controls exactly what I call them. Okay, because I want to see if you can, I want to see you develop your form visually. Okay.
Okay.
You just have to name your controls that you bring in from your toolbox exactly what I call them. Okay. And then after you put that all in, then you're going to put the code in, and you got to follow the directions exactly how I tell you to do it. And then you're going to have to make the modification. in some cases, you might have to make the whole method. Okay? So, it's going to be a little bit more than just filling in the question marks. Okay?
Okay. So it's not so much like memorizing the syntax, then I shouldn't spend too much time, or any of us shouldn't spend too much time just like noting and putting down like specific syntax for how to declare certain things. Okay.
Yeah. So syntax, I don't. This is why I allow you to use Google. Okay, is that I consider syntax something that that's unnecessarily clutters your brain. Now, look, it's going to be helpful to know how to write a switch statement. Okay, but I don't want you to have to concentrate that it has to be exactly that way. I want you to be able to go look at your notes, look at previous assignments, and see how you did a switch statement or Google it. Okay, an if statement. I want you to be able to you don't have to remember the exact way you did it. You can look it up. Okay. So that's the idea with that. That's why I allow you to use your notes, use Google. You just can't copy and paste my questions into an AI product. Can't use chat. Can't use NetTutor. Okay. And I will be watching your computers. Okay. So I want you to use Google, and I want to make sure you know how to program. Okay? All right. So that is what's going to be on the test. Any other questions before I stop the recording?
I have one just to follow up on that method thing you brought up. So you said that we might have to be making like our own method from scratch.
You might have to what?
Be making our own method from scratch, I think you said.
There's a potential that you'll have to make your own method. I can't remember. Actually, I have not written the test yet because I'm going to change the test. I don't like recycling old tests.
Gonna help out.
Well,
Retest. Take care of it.
whenever I recycle an old test, it's somewhere out in the net world. So there'll be a new test. But I can't remember if I ever had to write a whole method or not. But you should know how to write a method, okay?
Do
What?
you do?
Do I?
I mean, you do.
Maybe. Maybe.